What if I said that there was an NHL defenseman who physically couldn't seem to stay in his own zone? From his lightning-fast end-to-end rushes that left entire teams in the dust to his impossible no-look passes from behind his own net, Erik Karlsson was truly one of the most electric players in NHL history, and his highlights are honestly some of the best you'll ever see. But how did this Swedish speedster develop this crazy style that allowed him to win 2 Norris trophies and completely change what it meant to play defense? And why did he choose to take huge risks that most defensemen would never even think about? Before we dive into this incredible story, I just want to say that my team and I put our hearts into researching and creating these videos. If you genuinely enjoy what we're doing here and want to help us keep telling these amazing stories, a like and subscribe would mean the world to us. It's people like you who make this possible. Well, to find out, we have to go back to 2007. Södertälje SK, led by their 17-year-old defenseman Erik Karlsson, were set to face some of Sweden's best junior teams in the Super Elite Championship. But how is it that a kid from Landsbro, a tiny Swedish town with barely 800 people, was already being called the fastest skater in Swedish junior hockey? Well, Erik, whose father Anders had been involved in hockey, had access to something most small-town kids could only dream of: the legendary Swedish hockey development system that turned out NHL stars like they were on an assembly line. Well, Erik, whose family lived right next to the local rink thanks to his father's involvement, had spent countless hours working on his skating since he was 5 years old. The Swedish system was different from North American hockey. Instead of just drilling basic fundamentals, they encouraged creativity and puck skills from day one. You know, it was amazing. I would go out there for 2 or 3 hours just skating, working on my edges, trying different moves. I wasn't really focused on staying back like other defensemen. I was always thinking about the next play, and his natural ability to see the ice like a forward was key. I'm on the ice like, just moving the puck, trying crazy things because I know I'm going to need that move in a game one time, and I might be the only one back there who can make it happen. By age 16, Erik was already dominating the Swedish junior leagues with his speed, regularly flying past forwards who couldn't believe a defenseman could move that fast. The hours he spent working on these rush plays were paying off big time. However, not everyone was impressed. Swedish hockey coaches kept telling him he needed to stay back more, play it safe, and stop taking so many risks in his own zone. But Erik had a different idea about how defense should be played. This was just the start of Erik's challenges, though, because NHL scouts who had seen him play had serious questions about whether his risky style would work against bigger, faster North American players. Many teams were worried that a 170-pound defenseman who loved to rush the puck would get crushed in the NHL. The 2008 draft was approaching, and Erik was watching players get picked ahead of him while scouts whispered about his defensive mistakes. Yet, a certain scout who had been tracking the Swedish Speedster for 2 years had just convinced Ottawa to take a chance. Tim Murray, the Senators' head of scouting. Unlike most NHL teams, who saw red flags while watching Erik's wild rushes and risky passes, Ottawa saw a game changer, one that was going to lead the Senators to new heights. But could a skinny Swedish kid who played defense like a forward really succeed in the much more physical NHL game? Erik was drafted 15th overall, but he knew the real test was coming. When he arrived in North America for his first training camp, everything felt different. The rinks were smaller, the players were bigger, and the hitting was way more intense. The first thing I noticed was how much less time you have to make decisions, Erik would later say. In Sweden, you can hold the puck a bit longer. Here, if you wait even half a second too long, you're getting plastered into the boards. The young Swede realized he would have to get even faster if he wanted his style to work in the best hockey league in the world. On February 6, 2010, Erik Karlsson was set to face the Pittsburgh Penguins in what would become his coming-out party to the hockey world. The 19-year-old had been playing decent hockey for Ottawa, but nothing that really turned heads. However, Senators coach Corey Klauston encouraged him to be confident and take advantage of his offensive instincts. That game marked the beginning of a new chapter for Karlsson, one where his unique style would start to shine on the NHL stage. Without hesitation and inspired by the trust from his coach, Erik would pick up the puck behind his own net and then absolutely fly up the ice at a speed that left everyone in the building speechless. By the time he crossed center ice, he was going so fast that Pittsburgh's defensemen had no idea what to do. Did they step up and try to hit him, or back off and give him space? Erik made the choice for them, threading a perfect pass through defenders to set up an easy goal. The entire crowd went nuts. That one play showed the entire NHL that this Swedish kid wasn't just another defenseman. He was something completely different. As Erik's second season got going, his speed-first style was drawing attention from hockey fans across North America. The kid was regularly hitting impressive speeds during his rushes, faster than most NHL forwards could even dream of skating. By his third year, Erik was putting up numbers that seemed impossible for a defenseman. 78 points in 82 games, including 19 goals and 59 assists. He was playing almost 26 minutes a night, more ice time than some teams' top forwards. Hockey analysts started throwing around crazy comparisons, saying he played defense like Wayne Gretzky or Mario Lemieux would if they were defensemen. Erik Karlsson is rewriting what it means to play defense. Legendary broadcaster Don Cherry said during a Hockey Night in Canada segment, "I've never seen anything like it. The kid's got wheels like a Ferrari and hands like a surgeon." The Norris Trophy conversations weren't just happening anymore. Erik was becoming the favorite to win it as the league's best defenseman. But with all this attention came a new problem. Teams were starting to study his game like crazy. Coaches were showing their players video after video of Erik's rushes, trying to figure out how to stop him. Every team we played had a specific plan for Karlsson, former teammate Chris Neal would later reveal. They knew if they could shut him down, they could shut down our whole offense. However, during a routine play against the Pittsburgh Penguins on February 13, 2013, Erik's season would take a terrifying turn. Matt Cook's skate accidentally sliced through Erik's Achilles tendon, and just like that, the NHL's most electric player was lying on the ice in a pool of blood. Erik would spend the next 11 months in rehab, understanding that to reach his ultimate goals, he would have to develop not only his speed, but also his hockey IQ. The injury was so bad that doctors weren't sure if he'd ever skate the same way again. During those long months away from the ice, Erik did something he'd never really done before. He studied the game like a student cramming for finals. He watched hundreds of hours of video, not just of his own plays, but of legendary defensemen like Nicklas Lidstrom and Chris Pronger. "I realized that being fast wasn't enough anymore," Erik said during his recovery. "Teams figured out how to slow me down, so I had to figure out how to be 2 steps ahead mentally." When Erik finally returned to the ice in November 2013, something was different. Yeah, he was still flying around out there, but now he was picking his spots way better. Instead of rushing the puck every single time, he'd fake the rush and then make a perfect first pass that caught teams completely off guard. His vision became scary good. He was seeing passes that even his own teammates didn't know were coming. Not only did Erik get faster after his return, but he also became way smarter with his decisions. In his first full season back, he put up an incredible 20 goals and 54 assists for 74 points. Numbers that would make most forwards jealous. But the real difference was how he was controlling the game now. "Before the injury, I was just reacting and using my speed," Erik explained. "After coming back, I learned to slow the game down in my head. Sometimes the best play isn't the flashiest play. Sometimes it's just making the right read and getting the puck to where it needs to go." The Swedish Speedster had learned that being smart was just as important as being fast. With Erik back to his electric self, Ottawa was ready to make some serious noise in the playoffs. The 2015 season saw Erik capture his first Norris Trophy as the league's best defenseman, but that was just the beginning. By 2017, the Senators had built a team around their superstar defenseman that could actually make a deep playoff run. Erik was playing some of the best hockey of his career, putting up 71 points in the regular season while logging over 28 minutes a night, basically playing half the game. The 2017 playoffs were when Erik truly showed the hockey world what he was made of. In the first round against Boston, he was flying all over the ice, setting up goals and making plays that left people shaking their heads. But it was in the second round against the New York Rangers where Erik really took over. Game after game, he was Ottawa's best player, carrying them on his back with his speed and vision. The Senators shocked everyone by making it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. On May 21st, 2017, with Ottawa just one win away from the Stanley Cup Finals, it was Erik who would need to be perfect against the defending champion Pittsburgh Penguins in Game 6. But there was something the fans didn't know. Erik was playing through serious pain. He had been dealing with hairline fractures in both feet for weeks, but he wasn't about to let his team down. "People don't understand what playoff hockey is like," Erik said years later. "You're not just playing against the other team, you're playing against your own body sometimes. But when you're that close to the Stanley Cup Finals, you'll do anything to get there." Despite Erik's heroic efforts, including 2 assists in that crucial Game 6, Ottawa would fall just short, losing the series in 7 games. But Eric had proven he could carry a team on the biggest stage. That same year, he won his second Norris Trophy, becoming just the sixth defenseman in NHL history to score over 80 points in a season with 82 points. The kid from small-town Sweden had officially become one of the greatest defensemen of his generation. However, could Eric keep this level of play going? After that heartbreaking playoff loss, everything started to change around him in Ottawa. The team began trading away key players to save money, and Eric found himself carrying an even bigger load on a much weaker team. By 2018, it became clear that the Senators were rebuilding, and Eric didn't want to waste his prime years on a team that wasn't going to compete for a Stanley Cup. On September 13th, 2018, the shocking news broke. Erik Karlsson had been traded to the San Jose Sharks in a massive deal that sent shockwaves through the hockey world. But adjusting to a new team wasn't as easy as everyone thought it would be. Not only was Eric dealing with completely new teammates and a different system, his role was changing too. The Sharks already had their own style of play, and fitting Eric's rush-heavy game into their structure took time. And once the ankle injuries started piling up, the same ankle that had been surgically repaired multiple times, some began to question if his best days were behind him. The struggles continued when Eric signed with Pittsburgh in 2023, hoping to finally win that elusive Stanley Cup, but the injuries kept nagging him. And at 33 years old, he wasn't quite the same speedster who used to fly past entire teams like they were standing still. Erik Karlsson was truly one of the most electric defensemen to ever step onto NHL ice. Watching Eric, especially during his prime years in Ottawa, it almost seemed like he physically couldn't play defense the traditional way. And while some coaches saw his rushes as risky, the real truth is that his speed and vision were simply a more effective way of moving the puck and creating offense than the old-school stay-at-home style. Eric showed an entire generation of young defensemen that you don't have to just clear the puck and stay back. You can be the guy who creates the play and makes things happen. By the way, let me know what you think below. Is Erik Karlsson the most skilled defenseman of all time? Regardless of what you think, please share your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. And if you genuinely enjoyed this story about Eric's incredible journey, it would mean everything to my team and me if you could hit that like button and subscribe. We pour our hearts into researching these amazing hockey stories, and your support is what keeps us going and allows us to bring you more content like this. See you in the next one.